Archaeological discoveries are happening all over the world, constantly. One might have just been discovered while you were hearing this sentence. Another could be unfolding this very second. But not every find is worth losing sleep over. So, we've rounded up 15 of the most incredible archaeological finds that will just knock your socks off. Well, not truly, but they are brain-blowing. Number 5. Fig bottle. Well, a ceramic baby bottle shaped like a pig sounds cute and amazing, but when it's found in a 2400-year-old rock-cut tomb in Manduria, Italy, things get weird. Discovered in 2013, the tomb contained 2 adult skeletons and painted walls still glowing with red ochre and blue pigments. But this bottle, it was clearly meant for an infant. Eyelashes, rounded eyes, snout, the works. No baby bones were found. The leading theory, the woman in the tomb was believed to be pregnant, and the bottle was buried with her as a symbolic gesture to the unborn child. It's eerie and heartbreaking all at once. The rest of the grave goods were completely typical for the era, making this bottle the emotional outlier. For all our assumptions about ancient societies being rigid or impersonal, this artifact cuts through, quietly saying someone once hoped for a future that never arrived. It's not just pottery, it's loss, love, and a silent goodbye sculpted into ceramic. Number 14. Human brain. In 2013, a dig at Sayatomer Hoyuk in Turkey found something nearly impossible, a 4000-year-old human brain. It came from a Bronze Age victim whose remains had been trapped under rubble after an earthquake, then flash-heated by fire. This freak mix of natural disasters essentially pressure-cooked the brain, removing oxygen and moisture in one brutal sequence. The result? A preserved leathery mass of brain tissue is still inside the skull. Scientists were stunned, not just by its survival, but by the potential locked inside. Since then, researchers have been analyzing its chemical makeup and cellular structure to piece together what they can about brain health in prehistoric humans. The tissue might reveal traces of diseases, trauma, or even medical care. Most brains vanish within days after death, so this one is a scientific outlier. It wasn't saved by ritual or technology, but by catastrophe. And yet that destruction gave us a rare chance to study the human nervous system from over 4 millennia ago. How amazing is it? Isn't it? Number 13. The Malagana Treasure. In 1992, a Colombian sugarcane worker quite fell into history. When the ground beneath his tractor collapsed, he found himself surrounded by gold jewelry, figurines, and ceremonial pieces, all buried in what would soon be called the Malagana Treasure. Instead of alerting officials, he took a few items and passed word to friends. What followed was a chaotic gold rush. Hundreds of people flooded the site, digging, looting, and scattering centuries of history. Some artifacts were recovered by archaeologists. Others were melted down and lost forever. Researchers later linked the trove to the Malagana culture, a little-known society that existed 2,000 years ago in what's now southwestern Colombia. Almost nothing survives to explain who they were, what they believed, or how they disappeared. But the sheer craftsmanship of the items, intricate goldwork, stylized figures, deliberate placement, reveals a people who had both skill and symbolism baked into their culture. The tragedy is that so much was lost before it could be understood. Number 12. Jupiter Doloshanus Temple Artifacts. In 2013, a Roman-era temple site in Dolice, modern-day Gaziantep, unveiled a stunning collection of more than 600 items tied to Jupiter Doloshanus, a god of weather and war. Most of the pieces were amulets and engraved seals made from quartz, stone, and glass. They weren't just dropped randomly. Many had holes for stringing, suggesting they were worn as protective charms or symbols of personal identity. Some featured animal designs, others held abstract symbols or inscriptions barely legible after 2 millennia. The wide variety tells a bigger story. People from different walks of life came here to pray for good harvests or military success. It wasn't just a religious stop, it was a social one. These trinkets, small as they are, mark devotion on a deeply individual scale. Instead of towering monuments, this temple became a mosaic of personal hope, loss, and faith. Each amulet wasn't just a donation, it was a voice offering a wish to the storm god in hopes of a reply. So, did he reply? Well, who knows? Number 11. Rock drawings in Val Camonica, Italy. The Camonica Valley in northern Italy is home to one of the world's largest and most complex collections of prehistoric rock carvings, etched into glacier-smoothed rock over a span of nearly 10,000 years. With over 200,000 documented petroglyphs, this UNESCO World Heritage Site represents a living archive of evolving cultures, from nomadic hunters to early agricultural societies and Iron Age warriors. These carvings show everything from deer hunts and plowed fields to dueling figures and cosmic symbols. Some scenes are layered randomly, while others are structured, likely depicting rituals, mythology, or power structures. The communion rose, now the symbol of Lombardy, is among its most iconic motifs. Chronologically, the engravings are divided into phases, from Proto-Communion Mesolithic to Roman and medieval periods. Even after Roman occupation dulled the carving tradition, medieval Christians later added their own symbols, merging sacred lines with ancient ones. The site's modern study began in the early 20th century and continues today, led by scholars like Emanuele Anati, whose work helped earn the valley its global recognition. Number 10. Hat Pin of Edward Vorff. In 2019, Lisa Grace wasn't looking to make headlines and rewrite British history, she just had a metal detector and some free time in a Lincolnshire field. What she dug up was a solid gold hat pin from the 15th century, marked by the sun in splendor, King Edward IV's personal emblem. Topped with purple amethyst, the king's favorite gem, it's the same type worn in royal portraits during the brutal War of the Roses. That tiny piece of jewelry? It might have been worn by the king himself, on the battlefield or in court. Experts believe it was likely lost around 1485, the same year that ended Edward's era and ushered in the Tudors. Today, the pin alone is valued at over $115,000. But if it's confirmed to have belonged to Edward, we're talking millions, yup, millions, with milled. This isn't just an accessory, it's a war relic, a royal signature, and possibly the only surviving piece of a wardrobe worn by a king who fought to keep his crown and bled for it. Number 9. Cylinder seals of the ancient world. Cylinder seals, tiny carved stone cylinders rolled over wet clay, weren't just tools, they were identity, artistry, and storytelling fused into a single object. Originating as early as 3500 BCE in Mesopotamia and Elam, they evolved from earlier stamp seals and soon became essential to ancient administration, trade, and ritual. Seals often depicted gods, kings, celestial symbols, or ceremonial scenes, essentially acting as pictorial signatures or badges of authority. Some were worn as necklaces, always within reach, ready to impress their mark onto documents, storage jars, bricks, or even textiles. Materials varied: lapis lazuli, carnelian, obsidian, amethyst, depending on region and status. While most were used on clay, some also functioned like ancient roller stamps for fabric. Many come from burial contexts, hinting at their personal and spiritual value. From Sumerian to Neo-Assyrian dynasties, cylinder seals show not just who someone was, but what they believed in. And through impressions, they survive long after their owners are forgotten, etched symbols of societies that once shaped the cradle of civilization. Number 8. Roman bath jewel. What began as a delayed excavation in Carlisle ended up uncovering one of England's most intricate Roman bathhouses, hidden partly beneath a cricket field. While excavated fully only in 2022, the site had first been identified in 2017 near Hadrian's Wall. The real surprise wasn't the expected finds, terracotta water pipes, hypocaust floors, or cooking pots, but the dazzling array of gemstones. Dozens of engraved jewels, known as intaglios, were recovered from ancient drainage channels. Historians believe these stones came loose from rings and pendants when the warm bathwater dissolved their glue. Instead of being retrieved, they were swept away during cleanings and ended up preserved in the sewage system. These gems likely belong to Rome's wealthiest elite, based on their intricacy and quality. Many were carved with mythological scenes and symbols. Their presence adds another layer to understanding Roman leisure culture, one where comfort, appearance, and luxury were deeply intertwined with architecture and daily rituals. It's jewelry, but it's also history flushed down the drain, literally. Number 7. Wood-lined well at Budafoki Road. During excavations at Budafoki Road in Budapest's 11th district, archaeologists uncovered a rare and unexpected Neolithic structure, a well lined with a hollowed tree trunk, dating back around 7,000 years. Found beneath earlier post holes and pits, its location alone came as a surprise. Measuring over 3 meters deep and 80 centimeters in diameter, the well was likely the lowest section of a much taller trunk. Its purpose was practical, keeping the well's walls from collapsing while helping filter water for the local farming community. 4 wells in total were located, but this one stood out not just for its preservation in the anaerobic groundwater, but for the sheer challenge of its recovery. Excavators worked knee-deep in mud and water to retrieve the ancient timber. Now, with the well in safe hands, researchers plan to analyze the tree species, tool marks, growth rings, and more, offering rare insights into Neolithic engineering, daily life, and environmental adaptation in the Carpathian Basin. Few finds from the era offer this kind of structural clarity. Number 6. Stone armor. Archaeologists knew the mausoleum of Qin Shi Huang, the man behind China's first empire, held more than just the terracotta army, but in 2013, they leveled up the discovery game with 87 full suits of stone armor, crafted from over 600 interlocking pieces per suit and held together with bronze wiring. These weren't decorative props, they were functional, flexible, and precise enough to rival modern sculpture. Each piece was engineered to move, giving the afterlife soldiers real tactical weight, and here's the wild part. Experts believe thousands more suits might still be hidden across the site. Buried near Xi'an, this UNESCO site has been studied since 1987, and yet it's still dropping ancient mic moments. These stone armors weren't built for battle, they were built to guard an emperor's legacy in the afterlife. The level of detail screams obsession, power, and maybe a hint of paranoia. Qin Shi Huang wanted immortality, and in some twisted way, he might have gotten it, one perfectly chiseled slab at a time. Number 5. Forgotten necropolis. Just steps from a bustling train station in modern-day Paris, a quiet burial site was hiding beneath centuries of pavement. During pre-construction work, archaeologists unearthed the St. Jacques necropolis, now recognized as the largest burial ground from the ancient Gallo-Roman city of Lutetia. This forgotten cemetery held over 50 graves dating between the 1st and 3rd centuries CE, with bones belonging to both adults and children. Grave goods included ceramics, jewelry, and coins. One body even had a coin in its mouth, linked to the Greek myth of Charon's toll for crossing into the underworld. The discovery adds vital context to the poorly understood Parissia tribe, whose name gave rise to the city itself. Among the more unusual finds, the remains of a sacrificial pig, buried beside a human. All remains have now been sent for DNA testing, which could reveal more about the city's early demographics. This is not just a burial site, it's a historical time capsule buried right beneath the heart of modern Paris. Number 4. The Sudarium of Oviedo. Hidden perfectly and mysteriously inside a chamber in the Cathedral of San Salvador in Oviedo, Spain, lies a relic far less famous than the Shroud of Turin, but possibly far more authentic, the Sudarium. This stained piece of cloth is believed by many to have been wrapped around Jesus' head during the crucifixion, as referenced in the Gospel of John. Unlike the Turin shroud, the Sudarium has verifiable mentions going back to 570 AD, when it was noted to be hidden and protected in Jerusalem. Historical accounts say it was smuggled out as Persian forces advanced in 616 AD, eventually making its way across the Mediterranean to its current resting place. Carbon dating places the cloth in the 7th century, which seems to contradict the written timeline, but not definitively enough to dismiss its potential origin. The artifact has never been widely displayed due to its fragility. Whether it belonged to Christ or not, it remains one of the few religious relics with both physical and textual continuity spanning over a millennium. Number 3. The Tomb of Emperor Wu. For decades, it was just a mysterious site outside Xi'an, labeled the Jiankun grave, studied, debated, but never confirmed. That changed in late 2021, when Chinese archaeologists finally connected the dots. The tomb belonged to Emperor Liu Qi, known posthumously as Emperor Wu of the Western Han Dynasty. This wasn't just an imperial burial, it was an entire landscape of ritual planning. Surrounding the main tomb are over 100 satellite pits packed with more than 1,500 artifacts, from bronze seals and pottery to miniature chariots and horses. What's strange is how long it took to identify. Unlike most imperial tombs, this one lacked a mound, which made it easy to miss from above. The site had been sitting in plain sight for years. Once the layout and artifacts were fully mapped, there was no denying that the scale of this burial belonged to a major ruler. Emperor Wu's name may have faded over centuries, but this rediscovery just etched him back into the history books with force. What do you think about it? Number 2. The Abydos boats. Sitting far from any riverbank, a fleet of massive wooden vessels was unearthed in the desert near Abydos, Egypt. These aren't model boats or scaled-down replicas, they're full-size and date back around 5,000 years. And here's the puzzle. There's no water nearby, and no tomb either. Traditionally, boats like these were buried next to pharaohs to help them travel in the afterlife. Solar boats used by gods to cross the skies. We've seen this with Tutankhamun's tomb, where smaller versions were found alongside the body. But the Abydos boats? No nearby burial site has been located. That leaves archaeologists guessing. Some suggest the boats once surrounded a now-vanished tomb. Others think the burial was symbolic. What's clear is that these vessels weren't built to float. Their construction mimics ceremonial boats, and their placement in the sand implies they had more to do with ritual than river travel. Without the missing tomb, though, we're left with an unanswered chapter in one of Egypt's oldest sites. Number 1. The Forbidden Utah Monolith. This one's straight up bizarre. In November 2020, a crew from Utah's Department of Public Safety was flying over a remote desert stretch when they caught sight of something unexpected, a sleek, metallic monolith jutting from the ground. No note, no warning, no context. It stood about 10 to 12 feet tall, silver-toned, and too perfect to ignore. And just like that, it became an internet obsession. Theories spiraled: alien tech, secret military drop, a rogue art installation. Nobody had real answers. People flocked to the site, trekking miles to see it for themselves. Then gone. Just vanished overnight. A group of unidentified individuals supposedly removed it, but no one took credit, and no one saw it coming. Its sudden exit was just as mysterious as its arrival. Whether it was a prank, a performance piece, or something that shouldn't have been found in the first place, the Utah monolith remains one of the strangest modern mysteries, dropped right into the middle of nowhere. If you found this video interesting, be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for tuning in with us, and we'll see you very soon.